Welcome back to the Baseball Pros podcast. This is the Beyond the Batter's Box. I'm your host, Nick Kemper. I'm here with Collin Henderson. Collin has a very interesting story. Collin, thanks for coming on. Why don't you give us a little info about yourself?
Cool. What's up, Nick? Based by Pros. I'm from Puyallup. Spent a lot of time with Brent and the squad doing curriculum on mindset training, so it feels great to be back. From Puyallup. I'm a Coug, Washington State. Go Cougs. Played baseball and football. Did my master's at WSU. Got into fundraising. Got into life science sales. And I think over time, I saw what separated the good to great to the elite to Hall of Fame to best to ever do it was not just talent and skill, it was mindset. So I got really curious on, why am I so nervous? Why do I feel No, not now I feel great, but like when I played, Nick, do you remember when you were playing? Like, why am I so nervous? Why sometimes it's easy to execute and practice, or why some games I'm confident, why some I'm not? Why do I need to see a result to believe? Why am I getting all my self-worth tied to this? So I just got really curious about stress, anxiety, fear, self-doubt, and because sales is like that. A lot of failure in sales, just like in baseball or softball.
Life
is like that. So in 2014, I had an amazing teacher in business that's like, no, it's not strategy, it's not business skills, it's mental skills. He said psychology beats strategy. He gave me 30 books on the power of the mind. His name is Frankie Pretzel out of Chicago. What's up, Frankie? So I had someone give me some different strategies. I never heard about mental performance. I never knew that was a thing. At WSU, we had a sports psychologist, but the content just never landed. I don't think it was described in a way that was relevant. It made sense to me. It was very either academic or kind of corny. I just didn't see the correlation. So I think my passion, Nick, is to take the data, the science, the research, and make it really usable and stay in a way that's relatable.
Okay. You went to WSU in 2016, yes? Or before that?
I appreciate that, Nick. My last year competing was in 2004.
2004. Okay. So wow. So back. I don't want to say back then, but
you can say back then. It was a while. That was over 20 years ago.
Yeah, 20 years ago, mental performance and the mental game of things was almost like, I feel like there was like a negative like connotation to it. Like back then, especially with guys, guys didn't talk about like what they were feeling. They weren't supposed to like admit that they were feeling anxious, pressured, whatever. Did you ever like have a moment where you felt isolated, or you felt like you were kind of on your own with like
what it's like, Nick? It's kind of like we didn't know that the internet existed. We didn't know that, go old school 80s 90s like VHS. What is a DVD? Like, I don't think we even knew that was an option. You just struggle and suffer. Or what I did is I would work harder. I would run more routes after practice. I would take more hits or more BP to work on my swing. But as anyone, have you ever like trained extra hard physically and almost backfired? Like use your drains and you're overdoing and you're obsessing. And I remember an article that I read once I started doing this work. It was in 2005. The Yankees just hired a director of mental conditioning. His name was Chad Bowling. Chad Bowling was the mentor to Trevor Moawad, who was my mentor. Trevor and Chad worked together at it's called IMG Academy in Florida, where people flying around the world to train for draft, or they have a high school. It's been called the Hogwarts for athletes. It's like development. They have physical, they have diet, nutrition, they have sleep hygiene, but they have mental conditioning as part of that development. And Chad and Trevor were early pioneers in that. Gary Sheffield, when the Yankees hired a mental coach, I don't need that weak stuff. That's like soft. I mean, that there was this stigma around, if you work on the mental game, there's something wrong with you. But as we've seen over years, organizations have found mindset is a competitive advantage. You can train your body, your craft, and your mind. Your body would be, everybody has a strength coach. Craft would be, in baseball, softball, you have a hitting coach. At the higher levels, you have a base running coach. You have a pitching coach, a fielding coach, outfield coach, catcher. You have coaches for craft, skill. But as you know, the higher levels, the separator is mental. How many teammates, Nick, did you have who were physical specimens, but mentally they were not all there? Or
Yeah.
maybe some teammates who didn't physically have all the tools, but they were mental savages. Short memory, could compete, were clutch. Well, is that random, or do you think we can train that? So now, as mandated in MLB, every Major League Baseball team has a mental skills coach. That's pretty cool.
Yeah. I mean, even I remember like so my freshman year of college was 2019, like the fall of 2019, and then my last year was 2024. And like going from the very beginning to the end, like that freshman year we didn't talk about the mental game really ever. And then I remember my last year we had our own sports psychologist coming in and talking to us, I think once a month. And that was just like how different it has come in just like 5 years. But like I feel like there's still a lot more to go because especially with social media now and like you talked about like there's a cell phone in every single pocket, people are able to have access to all that basically media that creates pressure. Like that's something that I think a lot of people, especially young people going through college athletics, like not just college athletics, but like people in general that are going through things in their life, like there's still a lot of work that needs to be done, both to reduce the stigma and then also to like build upon the, I guess like work in order to handle that. Can you touch on that a little bit?
Well, what did you learn when you were a senior from that individual that came in and started talking about mindset stuff?
So good question. I was like you and I think a lot of other people in the beginning where I was just like, I'm not entirely sure like how this helps. And like, I was definitely not as open about it as I should have been. Not the least of which is like, I did a few one-on-one sessions and I remember like walking out of there, I'm like, I don't feel anything. And I think the thing that I learned the most was like other things. So like practicing your swing, going to practice, like it takes time. And it's not just something that you're going to go and like flip a script or like flip a switch like that. It's something that you need to constantly practice. So like the thing that I always talked about with him was basically staying in the moment. Like I was somebody that was super forward thinking in a bad way, like to a fault, meaning like I would always think about the next thing and what possibly could go wrong. And I needed
Hmm.
to basically take a step back. One thing that he always talked about me with was basically finding 5 things in the moment that I can physically see and almost touch. And knowing that like they're there, they're in this moment in time, like understand that that's where I am personally, or like that's where I am physically. I need to take my mind to that moment too.
Mm, that's great. Why weren't you as open to it?
Good question. I don't know if I don't really, or like I don't know if I actually know that answer yet. I think the biggest reason was like kind of like what I talked on, like the first couple times it was more so like this didn't work right away, and it took me a while to realize or to figure out that like it's going to be something I need to put into practice more consistently and on an everyday basis too, which applies to pretty much everything you want to be good at in life. And I think then like once I kind of like took a step back and realized like all right, I need to do more work of this on myself. That's kind of when like stuff started going more my way.
Yeah, you're right. It's doing the work. So the mission statement I've created for myself and my company, Master Mindset, is to transform lives and normalize mindset training. Is you have a training room, correct? At when you were at Akron, you,
Yep.
you had a training room for injuries.
Yep.
You had a weight room to get bigger, stronger, faster, more explosive. Is that fair?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
You would lift weights, okay. Um, the training room represents like therapy and counseling. That's usually more for deeper, heavier stuff to work through, which everyone needs, I think, access to that. Where mental conditioning, kind of what I do, is the weight room. It's like daily mental conditioning habits around self-awareness, present moment focus, process your identity, confidence, and resilience, navigating adversity, challenge, change, pressure, and success. Like what? Tell me, Nick, what's your plan to create like confidence?
Wow, I think you're interviewing me now. Honestly, I
But
think
I'm asking you this question. I want people to put
right. Yeah.
themselves into these shoes. Like, do you think confidence as a baseball player or a softball player is good?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
All right, so well, teach us, how do you create confidence?
As a baseball player, or like as in what I'm doing now.
Baseball player, or and
Baseball
what
player.
it doesn't matter. It's transferable. Like as a business leader, entrepreneur, as a podcast host.
I mean, one of the
Or
things that I did in the
baseball.
very beginning was basically, and like you already talked on this a little bit, was like just work harder, and that was something that I relied on since I was 12. Like I remember when I first realized I wanted to be like chase baseball to the fullest extent. That was something that I was like, all right, I'm going to work as hard as I possibly can. So I ever get in that moment where, there comes a moment of doubt, like I can fall back on my work ethic and realize that I did everything that I possibly could do to put me in the best position to succeed. And as a result, like that worked a lot of times for me. Like never had really any like anxiety, pressure, like going through high school, even beginning year of college. And then I remember like my first year of college, like kind of got, and this was the pandemic year too. So like we got like very beginning of the spring, and we had a game, and I remember like all of a sudden I struck out in the first at bat, and I was like all of a sudden I felt a wave of pressure like for the remainder of the game. And I remember I went like 0 for 3 with 3 strikeouts. That ended up being the last game of the year before the pandemic shut us down. And it was entirely because like I kept on thinking about that first at bat and kept on going back to like failing rather than thinking about succeeding. And that was kind of like a wake up call for me. It was like, okay, yeah, I did everything I possibly could on the physical side of things, because that's why I always, thought work ethic was like get your body physically ready, you'll be good to go during game time. And especially in a sport like baseball where you're supposed to fail, especially as a hitter, like you're supposed to fail 70% of the time, like you need to be rock solid mentally. And that was something I never really worked on. And from that moment, I got kind of lucky, but also unlucky at the same time with it being the pandemic. Like I was able to basically go home and kind of work on that aspect of it. I also, had 5 months to do it, 6 months to do it before I went back to school. And as a result, like that was something that I think I kind of like took to the next level, was understanding that like there was a second side of it, not just the physical side. And confidence also comes from like, yes, you being physically prepared for whatever the task is at hand, but also understanding that like mentally, like you have all the ability that you need in order to do the task at hand.
Yeah, because wouldn't you say that when you work really hard, how many seconds to a minute is each at bat, you think?
How many what?
Seconds or minutes, if you add up, you have, let's say you got 4 at bats in a game. Like how much in a 3-hour baseball game, say you're playing 9 innings.
Probably about 9 minutes in total, depending on how long it
And
takes.
that bat is 4 at bats are gonna be 9 minutes.
Four total at
Are
bats.
you seeing like 20 pitches each at bat? That's pretty cool.
I mean, I feel like I'm like from walking up to the plate to basically, depending on what the result is, if you hit a homer, it's obviously going to be a little bit longer. But
Okay, maybe let's say 2 minutes. Yeah, maybe I don't know, 8 minutes. 8 minutes of a 3-hour game. All of your time is to win that 8 minutes. What are you doing for the 2 hours and 52 minutes to win?
like during the game,
That's what I'm saying. Is the weight room and your skill training with hitting is only 8 minutes out of a three-hour game. What are you doing to train to win the moments in between each at bat? What you described about working harder isn't going to solve that.
yeah,
Like just
gotcha.
telling someone to go hit more off the tee or do more soft toss or go hit off a pitching machine. That's not going to. So what I'm trying to like create awareness around is working hard is part of it. But if you haven't organized your thinking, your identity, your self-talk, and your process of executing with focus, but also recovering from failure, if you don't have systems around staying present and how to influence confident competition, you can work as hard as you want. And it's gonna matter to zero. So we can now talk about ways to help train the moments in between the moment, or the moments to win in between every single pitch. And when that pitch comes, you're gonna give yourself the best probability to to, you can't control outcomes, but to have a good quality at bat. Or you're a pitcher or you're playing like defense. It's all the same.
But you mentioned earlier that you had teammates, or I guess like you kind of talked about me having teammates, but I'm sure you did too. You had teammates, both football and baseball, that were freaks of nature, meaning like super physically imposing, but like didn't have it mentally. And then you also probably had the guy, especially in baseball, that was less of that, but would just like show up in the field and rake. Like I remember there was one team that I had where he went out, and I'm not gonna name names, but he went out and got hammered the night before games, would show up to the ballpark hungover like almost every single game, and roll up to the ballpark and just like hit homers. I think he hit like 18 home runs that year. And I remember asking him like, dude, how do you do that? Like I have to, track my sleep, make sure I'm eating breakfast, like do all the quote unquote things right. And like you're, schooling me here. So like, what do you do? And he's like, honestly, I just think about going back to my bed later because I'm so tired. And I like laughed because I thought he was kidding. But he's like, no, I'm serious. Like the more emphasis you place on the game, like the less you're going to do well. And I kind of like took that. And I was also like rehabbing from Tommy John at the time. So I like wasn't even really able to put that into practice yet. But like that kind of like helped me like step back even further and understand like, oh my gosh, for the longest time, like I've made the game, and you talking this like a lot. I've made the game like my identity, whereas it's kind of just like a very, very small part of me. And like I need to almost place less worth on like how I do, like you talk about, for the 8 minutes or the 3 hour long game. There's still 21 more hours in the day, and there's still a lot more life to live. Can you talk on that? Like, what teammate did you have, or like, was there a few teammates that you had that kind of had that same sentiment, and did they kind of have like the same thought process going forward? Did you ever think about that as well? What was that like?
I agree. It's always fascinating. The teammate that came to mind at WSU, his name is Evan Hecker. He went to Eastside Catholic. He's probably 5'7", 5'8", played center field, bad leadoff. Didn't wear batting gloves. Just you call him like a dirtbag player, just like tough, and couldn't really throw, couldn't really run, but probably hit 330 or above every year. Was just a competitor, and kind of similar to you, the story you told, where it's just I think he just didn't overthink it. So I guess now I want to just give y'all some tools. Now I think we've done some exploring and talking about background. And I'm looking at time, and I want to make sure that the audience is getting some value out of this. So I'm gonna give y'all an equation to think about. It's T as in Tom plus S as in Sally minus I as in ice cream squared, so two of them, I squared, equals EP, Eric and Paulina. So T plus S minus I squared equals EP. Talent plus skill minus internal interference equals execution probability. Now, us Cougs, math isn't our strong suit, but just you gotta stay with it. So talent is God-given. 6'4", can run a 4.40. Their 0 to 60 is this. Their velo, spin rate is like 97. Talent is there. Skill can be developed. Oh, now can you throw 4 pitches? Can you develop, like Derek Cheater made 56 errors at shortstop as a rookie in pro ball, and then really worked on his craft to improve his skill? Like, are you working on your skill, developing your craft? Talent plus skill minus internal interference. That's also known as noise, or internal drama, or imposter thoughts, self-doubt, fear, anxiety, shame, guilt. So you're describing a teammate, man, his internal interference was really low. He didn't care. He wasn't even worried about the AB. He's like, I just want to go to sleep. He wasn't even thinking about, what if I strike out? He's just like really kind of, I don't know, present. So the lower the I squared, the higher probability you're going to execute, the higher the EP, the execution probability. So it's like, what are you doing, Nick, to lower your internal interference? Or what is causing you internal interference? And a lot of times what I found, this is from Dr. Michael Gervais, the #1 performance epidemic today is what he calls FOPO, fear of other people's opinions. That internal interference or that noise is like, do my Am I getting love from my parents? Like, do I have to perform well to feel lovable? With my own self-image and identity, like, do I need to like get 2 or 3 hits to love myself? Where is this pressure coming from? Like, why is my identity every performance is life or death? If I perform well, I feel great. If I fail, I feel like shit. Stop crap.
You're good. You're good.
So it's kind of like, well, where can we form a healthier identity? And that's how you see yourself. You never outperform your self-image. So if your self-image and identity is required to see a result, this is what my friend Collin calls, you're an outcome junkie. You need to see a result to be confident. In baseball, that's not going to serve you well. It takes a professional like Steph Curry to go 0 for 14 and to keep shooting.
Right.
Because they believe, look good, felt good, next one will be good. So once that's established, I can give you all some tools. So maybe the first question is, for the listeners, what is causing internal interference? Is it self-worth? Is it safety? I mean, from your childhood, like, were you conditioned that you have to perform well to be loved? Is it you want belonging, you want to be cool? Because you feel like if you play well, you'll be cool, and socially you'll have like a higher status. I think parenting is a lot of work. We can do a whole nother podcast on parenting, but I think that would be a very interesting question. Like, what work do you need to do to heal some of that, kind of the lies you're telling yourself, that you need to get an outcome in order to be like important or to love yourself. Yeah. Now, the next thing I would do is like working on identity, which is like, what are your values? There's a drill at Baseball Pros we used to do called your me wheel, where you're adding spokes to who you are beyond just a baseball player. Yep. The other foundational thing I talked about, confidence. The number one source of confidence, research from the BBC lab in the UK, 44,000 participants, research led by Andrew Lane, self-talk is the number one driver of confident action. So your teammate's inner experience of how he experienced himself, the narrative he would have in between at-bats, it wasn't about the game or results. It was about, like, he loves his pillow. Yeah. Or he didn't get a hit in his last at-bat. He's not even thinking about it because he's thinking about, I want to eat a snack before I go to sleep. Like, so he's not repeating the mistake over and over again. So therefore, he's not in cycles of shame, which is replaying failure. And he's not in cycles of fear of pontificating, catastrophizing what can go wrong. So therefore, he's using internal dialogue to code where his focus goes. Energy flows where focus goes. Words are tools. Words are your wand. Words create worlds. The brain thinks in 4 dimensions. A word creates a picture. The brain sees an emotion. The body feels a belief that the subconscious holds. So if your mental conditioning narration is going unchecked, your inner dialogue is you're talking shit to yourself, and you're carving out not only neural pathways for failure, you're training your nervous system to act and perform in an avoidant place instead of an attack place. You're playing not to fail versus playing to win. So having some self-talk training on what am I going to focus on in this at-bat? What am I going to focus on when I'm on defense? What am I going to focus on after a mistake? Like practicing language and writing down things you're going to say to yourself. And then what you can start to visualize. You go through, in the mental skill space is called mental imagery, where you're visualizing how you want to experience that at bat, visualizing the pitch you want to see, visualizing and feeling, and it's really training your brain. It begins before it begins what you want to see and focus on, because the brain and the body can't tell the difference between what is real and what is imagined. The next thing I would have anybody do is like, how clear is your process? When you're in the hole on deck, your pre-swing routine, your in between pitch routine, your release routine when you're down 0-2 or when you strike out to flush it and get back present. What's your routine in between pitches to have a few seconds to release and then lock back in? Focus on the process, not the pressure, the process, not the prize. So how clear is your process?
At WSU.
I didn't have any of this stuff, man. I wasn't a head case. I had none of this stuff. But I can tell you my best year was my first year because I was like your friend. I really didn't care because I was playing baseball and football.
Right.
And my self-talk was, man, I played for Chafee. Man, I was on area code team 3 years. I was team one, top 100 prospects in the country. Like, even though I haven't played in a year or two, because I basically took 2 years off of baseball. I played 3 of baseball, 4 of football. I was on scholarship for football. I hadn't touched a bat in almost 3 years. My first full season at WSU, and that was my best season. I hit like 321 in the Pac-12 because my self-talk was, this doesn't matter. I'm playing football. No one expects me to do well. I haven't touched a bat in 3 years. My first series of that season was against Gonzaga. Friday, I just watched. But I simulated like a ton of at-bats in the dugout. I simulated like mentally. I simulated what I would feel. My first pitch, as a college baseball player, was a base hit to right field. 2 hits Saturday, 2 hits Sunday. We played Lewis and Clark on Monday. Hit a bomb. Because I just didn't care. And then my next year, you heard the sophomore slump? I put so much pressure and expectation on myself because I had done it before. Then that was my worst season. Because I didn't have skills around identity. I didn't have skills around self-talk. I didn't have a clear process of what gear do I wear? What's my pre-swing routine? What's my routine for morning breakfast and warm-up? Like keeping the main thing. I didn't have any of that. My senior year, I had a really good summer league, and I was captain that year, and I had a decent year, but I had none of these skills. No one was talking to me about this stuff.
So when did it switch for you? Like when was the moment where you realized like this is something I need to develop, or this is something that like I really need to focus in on?
In my early 30s, I was depressed and anxious, and my blood pressure was in the high 140s, high 150s.
Oh my gosh.
I was in pharmaceutical sales, and I would skip out 3 days a week during lunch hour to go watch movies to numb myself and escape from like reality. But I've learned this in change. When the student is ready, the teacher appears. You're the problem, you are the solution. In the book, The Brain That Changes Itself, the first step in learning is you have to want to learn. So I knew I was in an environment that wasn't great for my confidence and for what I needed at work. So I changed companies, and that's when my mentor and my mental teacher appeared. He was a sales trainer, and he started talking about sales psychology beats sales strategy. Like attracts like. Energy flows where focus goes. TBT, not Throwback Thursday. Thoughts become things. I'm like, what? He just gave me resources to read on neuroscience, brain science, how you visualize. And that's when everything changed.
How long did it take you to like well, I don't want to say fully grasp it because you probably never fully grasp it, right? Like you're constantly learning. But like how long did it take you to really get like a good like understanding of this? Like you're throwing out like direct quotes and like book references, like authors. Like you've clearly done a lot of research on this. But how long did it take you to get to that point?
Well, I did 2 years of research, and I told you pre-call 2016 February is when I started blogging.
Right.
For y'all kids who don't know, that means you write on a website and then you publish it and people will read it. This was before TikTok or Snapchat. So that took a lot of time. There was no AI. So I read 5 books a month for 2 years and was watching TED Talks and YouTube videos on learning about mindset, peak performance. And I don't think I'm always going to be a student, Nick. I have way more tools now, way more tools. And I want people, this is a lifestyle. This is not like a hack or a quick fix. Like this podcast, like, oh, do these 2 things one time and you're gonna rake every at bat. It doesn't work like that. Stay ready, so you have to get ready. Like embed this into your process and how you operate daily. Because baseball and softball is just sample size of what life is going to be like. So we want to institute skills of identity, self-awareness, grit, resilience, rest, recovery, self-talk, how to visualize, value-based, being a phenomenal teammate, seek to serve, don't swerve. There's just a lot of things we can embed, but I think having Who am I? What do I stand for? What's most important? I'm more than one thing. I'm not defined by this.
When you go to travel, because you go visit Fortune 500 companies, high level teams, professional teams. How often do you? I don't want to say get pushed back. That's probably not the right word. But how often do you kind of get people that are hesitant to at least like start on their own journey? Like when you're talking and you're explaining all this stuff, like how often are people like, that guy might be full of shit?
Um,
And
no
then
one
what
can,
do you do to
well,
then
no one
combat?
can argue that that mindset doesn't matter at the highest levels. No one's going to argue with me. But maybe I usually start by asking questions. How important is mental fitness and being like a mental? Let's use words that you might like as like a gritty masculine baseball player to be a mental savage. Is that important?
Yeah,
Scale from 1 to 10. How important is it to be like just a mental, just a beast? How important is it
20.
from 1 to 10? A 20. All right. From a time perspective, 1 to 10, how much time are you consciously and proactively working on your mental fitness?
Probably not a lot.
Well, how's your average right now?
I mean, I don't play right now, so
No, I'm simulating. I'm simulating. Like, or how's your batting average right now?
life. I
No,
mean,
I'm simulating someone who's going to talk shit about it.
oh, okay.
Um, are you batting third? Are you in a max contract? Like, are you oh, as a pitcher, are you starting on Fridays? Oh, you're not. Here's my favorite question to invite curiosity and what I call positive tension. Oh, you're not exactly where you want to be. What are you doing for that? Oh, you're not committing to the process physically, you're not committing to the process mentally, you're not committing to all the factors that drive results like sleep, hydration, or you're drinking a lot, not eating efficiently, you don't have a mental emotional game plan of clarity, focus, grit, resilience, self-awareness. How do you expect your performance to elevate then? And you give them examples. You give them examples. Yeah, I usually show a few videos and show story. There's a video of Bill Buckner, 1986 World Series, had an error, ball went through his legs, cost him the World Series.
Okay.
There was a video that resurfaced 12 days earlier. He was interviewed and he told the camera, yeah, the dream is that you have success and win, but the nightmare is that, you don't want to be the guy that lets the ball go through your legs to cost you the World Series. Sometimes these things happen. It's just fate. And I was like, are you even aware? Like, what do you think? Because baseball is just like a milli-angle difference between hitting a freaking 380-foot bomb versus a pop-up. Or you not getting spin rate right, location right. That's the difference between a ground ball and a gapper that costs you the game. How much of your thinking influences that? Well, what are you doing for that? So I just ask questions, and they usually like find some gaps, and like, well, let's customize. It's not for everyone. Like I wouldn't make everybody hit like Bo Bichette. Not everybody needs a leg kick, but like let's figure out what some gaps in your mental game are. Let's customize an exact process for you. But if everybody has a strong identity that's rooted around growth mindset, if everyone has a game plan for how you talk to yourself and what you visualize, if everybody has an elite process of commitment, habits, behaviors, and routines, if we have great systems of recovery and resetting, someone argued to me that the mental game doesn't matter.
Like actually, like they did that.
No, but no one. I will destroy anybody. Like I have zero fear, and no one ever argues with me. So
Right. Do you ever have things that?
and because I'm speaking from okay, so my master's degree is in education with emphasis in leadership. I went back in 2019 to get a second master's degree in sport and performance psychology and learned nothing that was useful. My teaching is from my failures and hardships playing in the Pac-12 conference, being a top 100 prospect, playing in the Rose Bowl, ranked third in the country in football. We were ranked third in the country. I played in the horseshoe against 105,000 people. I know what that feels like. I'm coming at you from compassion, vulnerability, and the shit that I struggle with. I want to help you with it because I know over 80% of people in here are feeling the exact same things.
I'd almost say it's almost higher than that. Like,
Probably,
you
yeah,
think,
but you don't talk about it. So,
right?
so, so this is my thing. I just try to flip what I said. You know what's weakness is isolation and thinking you have it all figured out. You know what gangster, savage vulnerability is asking for help. Oh, you want to be a gangster, savage, then you get really vulnerable and you face your fear and you forgive and you open up what you've been suppressing, hiding since you were 9 years old. That's some savagery, brave gangster shit right there.
If you could go back in time, and obviously like different time, like didn't have the resources back then, but if you could go back in time, like what would you employ on yourself to help
Well,
you not have?
I would fix the relationship I had with my father. My dad loved me deeply, but my dad was highly competitive, very verbally intense. And I think it was in fourth grade where I associated if I perform well, he won't yell. If I don't perform well, he will yell and I'll hear it in the car ride home and over dinner. Therefore, every time I competed, I don't feel psychologically safe. I would have a deep conversation with myself on how to set a boundary and say, Dad, I don't feel safe. I don't feel loved how you're treating me. I want you to be my dad. And you wouldn't believe how many I work with like elite Olympic and pro athletes. I have a series of questions when I get to tell me your relationship with your parents. 80% that's the problem. And I'll say my dad and I, he loved me. He had no idea. He was just super competitive.
Right.
So that's the source. I call mindset is really shaped not by good things, but shaped what I call trauma, drama, daddy, and mama shit.
That's powerful stuff, and I think that resonates with a lot of people.
Yeah, yeah, but I got to catch a flight. I'm speaking somewhere this weekend, so I got to go. But I really loved our time, Nick.
I got you. Do you have 3 minutes?
Yeah.
I have two quick questions. One, top three athletes of all time.
Top three outfielders.
Athletes,
Oh, athletes. Oh, that's right.
any sport.
Athletes. Derek Jeter is my all-time favorite athlete. Um,
Favorite or best?
I mean, if you're looking at athlete, you gotta say Bo Jackson. I mean, two sport high level. Deion Sanders, two sport high level. I think Steph Curry probably is. I mean, golf, basketball, shooter, undersized.
Yeah, for sure, for sure. Okay, last one here. How hard is it, especially now, but back then too? Like it was super hard. How hard is it to play two sports in college at the Power Five level?
Actually, I played better when I was playing two sports because, like your friend who didn't overthink, when I was playing two sports, I didn't overthink.
Okay,
I was in academic All-American. I think I'm very in terms of cerebral, as in like analytical and thinking. And by having, I remember during spring ball when because I was on scholarship football, baseball, I was just like, come out and play baseball. You don't cost us the scholarship. This is before um, NIL and transfer portal. I remember scrimmaging in the morning in football, starting at receiver, getting my ass kicked, leaving like 15 minutes early to go to the locker room, put on my baseball uniform, walk across the street in my turf, put my spikes on, playing Arizona State, on their like Saturday starter who's throwing like 94. I just didn't care because I just played football and I got football practice on Tuesday. And I think I had like 5 hits that series, which is not, I mean, I didn't dominate, but I hit over 300. I mean, so it's just, yeah, I did better when I didn't overthink.
okay.
But then my first year after football was just baseball. That was my worst year. My fifth year was just baseball, and I had a year to kind of regroup. But that first year, no football, that was my worst year.
Okay. All right. Well, thank you very much for coming on. I appreciate you taking the time. I know you got a flight to catch. Um, Thank you again. I know that you got a very busy schedule. You had meetings before this too. So
Yeah, well,
thank you.
parents, you've listened to this, the 6 things that Bruce Brown studied that helped elite athletes get to their highest level is after practice or games, just say these 6 words: I love to watch you play, and shut up.
Powerful stuff right there.
The
Collin
best
Henderson.
no, the best fans are grandparents because they don't
That is true.
psychoanalyze.
That is true.
So mom and dad, think about what's your relationship with your kid. Is it more important that they are great athletes or that you're a great parent with them? So I think that's a whole nother topic. So care about y'all. Yeah, you'll give Brand a big hug for me, okay?
I will. I will. You will love that. Thank you.
Okay, thanks, dude.
Collin Henderson, thank you very much. We will see you next Friday.
Thanks, dude. Bye.